Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, I want to give a shout out to my sponsors. Now, these are companies that I used as an athletic director, as a coach. They're all great companies. Some are money makers. They're all time savers, and they're companies you should have on your team. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say many times, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. You know, as a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just love the Huddle platform. Go to huddle.com, join the millions of users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and Beacon Creative. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade, but Beacon Creative takes it to a whole new level. Beacon is Wall of Fame's content creation platform, and their talented team of writers and creators, they're going to come up with some compelling narratives about your kids, your coaches, your history that you can then post on social media. You really got to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Click on Content Services for more information. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Home Campus. Things like scheduling, rosters, results, communication, facilities, eligibility. Home Campus does all of these, does it better, does it faster than the other platforms. Go to homecampus.com to get started. That's homecampus.com. And don't forget to mention the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Gipper. Your athletic department is doing great things, and Gipper is going to help you promote it on your social media channel. Gipper is used and trusted by over 20,000 high schools and colleges. It's the #1 rated app for athletic marketing. It's #1 in part because of their thousands of professionally designed templates that you can then customize in your colors, your brands, your logo to create, share, and schedule all your social media. The platform you want is Gipper. Go to Gipper.com to see how it can work for you. We also want to say thanks to Booster Hub, the #1 Booster Club software app. You know, if you work with your Booster Club, you know that volunteer signups and volunteer changes are part of the routine. Well, with Booster Hub, nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays connected and engaged, and all those changes don't get lost. The same is true for concession sales or sponsorship fees. You stay connected, your boosters stay connected. Give them the platform they need, give them the platform they deserve, and that platform is Booster Hub. We also want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and while they completed their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We want to thank our friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to be a leader in education-based athletics with their solutions that include things like, well, digital ticketing, of course, but how about fee-free fundraising through School Funder, athletic website construction? The Hometown list goes on and on. Whether you're an athletic director, a head coach, even a principal, Hometown is going to show you how to save time. It's going to show you how to raise more money, and they're going to show you how to bring your entire community together. Go to hometown.com to get started. That's hometown.com. And finally, we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for just about everything, for student athletes, for coaches, for parents. And the feedback that we got back was typically over the top positive. We still got to hear from our squeaky wheel parents, but the surveys allowed us to find out their concerns, usually address them before they turned into something big. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And as always, don't forget to mention you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. It's a back to college episode. And our guest today is Dr. Anthony D'Onofrio. He's got a tremendous background in athletics. He's currently the Director of Graduate Sport Leadership at Endicott College. That's up in the Boston area. Again, he's got a tremendous background. We're going to hear all about that. Dr. D'Onofrio, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you so much, and a pleasure to be on here today.
Well, Anthony, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your quick bio. We're going to hear about your career later, but let's focus maybe on where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through those college years. As I love to say, tell us your life story in 2 minutes. What's the Anthony D'Onofrio origin story?
Sure. Here's my elevator pitch. Again, fortunate enough to grow up in the Boston area. Had two amazing parents that always supported me playing all the major sports: football, hockey, baseball. Was fortunate enough. My father and family, we all grew up working at the old Boston Garden back in the day. So was always surrounded by sports and worked at Fenway Park. So my father was president of youth hockey, baseball, and I did a lot of involvement with football. So it was just kind of in my blood. So I was very lucky. And I knew at that age, I'm like, I want to do something in sports. Playing high school, prep school, junior hockey, coached hockey for 30 years. I just knew that I was focused in on the sports industry. Went to Salem State College back in the day for sport management. And then progressed, went down to United States Sports Academy, got my master's in sports management, traveled the country, worked in Vegas, Michigan, Colorado, Alabama in the sports industry, came back to this area, and I've been at Endicott College for about 11 years, very fortunate, great school, and they've been great to me. So I'm very blessed and fortunate to having a wonderful family that always supported me in the sports industry.
Yeah, your story reminds me of one of our longtime Florida ADs. You're not responsible to know everyone from Boston, but his name was Dan Como, and he was down here in Florida for most of his career, but grew up in Boston. Always talked about hockey. So again, I want to go all the way back to that growing up part. Now you mentioned Boston. Was it city? Was it suburbs? Were you flirting with, West Massachusetts there in the country? I mean, what was that like growing up for you as a kid?
Again, very lucky, in terms of folks knowing they just put the casino here in Everett, where I grew up, which abuts Boston, the Wynn Casino. And it's funny, oddly enough, when I was a kid, I told my father, that's a great spot for a minor league team. And they put a casino in there, but I was a stone's throw away from the Boston Garden, Fenway Park. Again, very fortunate. So very city-like and a lot of Italians and Irish growing up in my area. We all were into sports, and obviously 1980 with the Olympic hockey movement. So I was very fortunate to grow up. I'm actually blessed to not grow up in the technology era. So we played a lot of informal games of stickball, street hockey. So again, very blessed as a child.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff you probably see in movies now. Very cool. As you were climbing that sports ladder and you started to get into organized sports, was it school-based? Was it neighborhood? Were your parents driving you to hockey tournaments or the like?
Yeah, I again really dedicate everything for my parents for getting my doctorate. I was more of a sports heavy, so they had to kind of sit me down and say, "Listen, you have to kind of hunker down on the academics." But went to Catholic schools my whole life. I needed the structure, but the sports, provided that structure for me. But again, informal games as a child, but that always playing youth sports, high school, football, hockey, baseball, and then my true passion was hockey. So that's I coached for 30 years, and I just remember back in the old days watching the White Shadow. I'm like, I want to do that. I want to teach phys ed, coach, be an athletic director. So at a young age, I knew what I wanted to do.
Now, you mentioned multiple sports. When you got into high school, and I'm a few years older than you, did any of your high school coaches ever come up to you and say, Anthony, you shouldn't be playing whatever it was, baseball, you should be playing, hockey year round? Was that a thing for you?
Um, again, I love the fact that, when football season was kind of circling the drain, I was excited to play hockey. When hockey was done, I would play baseball, and then the summertime, I'd even throw in basketball in the mix. But as you see here, I get the Bridgeton Academy jacket on. I did a year of prep school. A true mentor of mine was a coach, Joe Daly, who still to this day I talk to. But it's mentors like that, my athletic directors and coaches. Still to this day, I still communicate to them, and I thank them that I had amazing parents and then amazing mentors.
We hear that so often, the impact that, our coaches, junior high and high school coaches had on us and athletic directors at ending up in this profession. Let's go and jump to college. Were you a blue chip recruit? Were you, a walk on? What was your college experience like?
I was more of a grinder, just a lunch pail kid, and knew, my dad's like, look, you're not going to play pro hockey. Get as many years out as you can. But as I was playing, I was kind of a student of the game of saying, all right, geez, if I were to coach an athletic director and so on and so forth, that's why bring me to this position right now. I love mentoring kids and kind of giving them advice of, hey, you might not be the GM of the Boston Bruins, but there's other avenues you can go into, especially where the sports industry has grown so much. But I was kind of my dad, old school, like, here's the shovel, dig the hole, and work hard. So, one of the best actually coaches, summer league I had was Jackie Parker and Ben Smith. And, I just went out there. I was way out of my league playing with Division I college athletes, but I was just a muck and a kind of a grinder out there. And again, just lucky enough to have folks like that mentoring me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier in the intro that you got your undergraduate degree in sport management. That must have been fairly new back then.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about that. Was that you said, "Oh, this is for me," because this is the path to becoming a coach and an AD, or did you just kind of fall into that?
It's funny. So when I went in, wasn't sure. I think I actually saw athletic training first. Tried that for a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this. Jumped to physical education, and then, like to point out to your point, sport management had just started. I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do. I like the business aspect. I can still coach. I can wear multiple hats. So that pretty much took off at the undergraduate level. I was like a little kid in a candy store. I'm like, and again, that's where the academic side, it wasn't a struggle for me, taking, courses in English and other stuff that I'm like, it doesn't, I don't see the connection between sports. So that kind of flourished. And then from there, I found the United States Sports Academy, which I was in heaven, working, working with those folks there.
Yeah, again, I look back to my own, I guess academic career. I went to high school and college in the entire decade of the 70s. Graduated high school in 75, college in 80, and as an undergrad, if you thought you wanted to be a coach, you were a teacher. And so, we had the phys ed major, or you were a history ed major, but you were going to coach football or whatever that was. There was no mention of, the things that are covered now and probably
Yeah.
back for you in sport management. So it's just incredible how that profession, if you will, or umbrella has grown. Let's go and take a quick break. Once again, our guest today is Dr. Anthony D'Onofrio. He's the Director of Graduate Sport Leadership at Endicott College. We're going to hear all about that and more. Let's take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank our good friends at Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You heard me say many times, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile and their customer service just outstanding. Go to Sideline interactive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Huddle. You know, as a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, I'm telling you, all of our coaches just love the Huddle platform. Our student athletes love the videos, and our parents love the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com, join the millions of users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. And don't forget to mention you heard about it on the Educational AD podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD podcast. Once again, our guest is Dr. Anthony D'Onofrio. He's the Director of Graduate Sport Leadership at Endicott College. Coach, you kind of took our listeners up through your own school and a little bit of the college experience. As you were getting ready to graduate, was there a wonder, gosh, what am I going to do? Or did you already have something lined up for that very first job?
Like I mentioned, I saw the United States Sports Academy, but still kind of hanging on to a little hockey, played a little juniors and knew I had to kind of let go of that. But, you know, for myself, and I tell my students this, and I give my daughters the same advice. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. So I knew I had to really expand uh, my contact list and network. So stepping outside of my comfort zone, going from Boston, Mass to Daphne, Alabama, back in the mid '90s, which was tremendous, just in terms of opening up doors and contacts, and it really solidified. I knew what I wanted, and I was very happy with my decision of staying with the sports management and sports leadership. So the U.S. Sports Academy, just the courses alone, but just the networks and contacts. My roommate was the high performance director for USA Rugby, to sports I had never heard of before. So I was very happy and pleased with my decision going down to Daphne, Alabama.
Now, you used one of my favorite expressions that I use with, people that are just starting their careers. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. How did that aspect, or how did that principle, if you will, impact you at the U.S. Sports Academy for some of those first jobs?
Well, I think again, being fortunate, I think I'm fortunate. I grew up before the technology era, so, and I tell my daughters again, same advice I give my daughters, I give to everyone else. Look people in the eye, shake their hand, send them a handwritten thank you note. That goes a long way. I remember I went to the World Hockey Summit in the mid '90s, and Pierre Pagé told me that same advice that I kind of followed. Hey, your cover letters, make sure they're not canned, but leveraging those contacts is paramount. Getting those contacts, and I had, when I say it now, I outdate myself. I had the old school Rolodex, which now turns into LinkedIn. And as we know, the power of LinkedIn, it's not, writing it down, but I'm still old school. I love to write it down, but staying in contact. I think for me at the Sports Academy, I still stay in contact. I graduated there in 1997. A lot of those guys are still my best friends. We talk just about every day, and I tell my students and my family the same thing: is leverage those contacts, stay in contact. Don't just reach out and ask for a favor. Just check in. Hey, how you doing? Send them a thank you note, or just, hey, thinking about you today. How are things going? And then the biggest thing is, and I tell people, is you have to be a good listener. Do not wait for your turn to talk. Listen, take copious notes, and that's one of the things I learned at Bridgeton Academy and the Sports Academy was you have to be an attentive listener.
Now, you had mentioned one of your early jobs was in pro hockey. I think you said it was marketing. Was there anything from those days that, is still appropriate today or applicable today from a marketing standpoint? Because that's a tool that, particularly at the high school level,
Yeah.
sometimes there's not a lot of training in how to market your program.
Yep. No, I take those values still today. The first actually intern I got was with New England Hockey Institute out of Whitman, Mass, with a gentleman by the name of Dennis Chigasola, another great mentor. And it was just old school back in the day, picking up the phone, making those relationships, making the sales calls, and learning at a young age. And my father taught me the same value of customer service, how important that is. And then from there, when I went out to Vegas, we didn't have a database. It was, here's the yellow pages. Good luck, have at it, and sell the hockey team, the Las Vegas Thunder, the old IHL, and the old Las Vegas Stars, AAA, and just building those relationships. And it wasn't like, oh man, I'm selling widgets. I'm selling a fun experience, and just having those conversations of, hey, come on out to the ballpark. It's a tremendous value, and take the family out. So I think the customer service, I steal a tagline here that I actually promote my program is shop us less, kick the tires at other places. There's a company called Commonwealth Motors. I kind of stole it from them. I'm like, listen, I want you to feel comfortable in this program you're in right now, but same thing with the Las Vegas team, the New England Hockey Institute. Hey, do your due diligence and find out other programs. And we have the customer service. I'm going to give you a good return on your investment. So I think those skills will never go away. You can have all the AI in the world, but the people skills is essential.
Now, I know you spent time in the school system, as a teacher, as a coach. You said you spent 30 years coaching hockey. What are some of those experiences that still stick with you now, years later, that you can share with students that you have that are the leaders of tomorrow?
Again, I tell the folks, in hockey, and it's nice. I got a note last week of a former player of mine. It's, coach, I still, remember to this day about, work ethic and the values of playing sports. I think just pay it forward. You're a mentor. You're in this business. And like Ed mentioned before, I love what I do. And I tell my daughters the same thing, like pick a profession that obviously you want to make a decent salary, but you want to enjoy what you're doing. You want to drive into work and saying, man, I love this. But I guess getting those texts and emails and thank you cards of, players from back in the day, 20 years ago, I still stay in contact with. That's rewarding and fulfilling. And those are things that, my father was a president of youth hockey still to this day. Hey, your dad helped me out, after he had passed, he took care of my hockey tuition. I was like, wow, I didn't know that. So I think just the mentoring and you're having fun and you see, these folks growing up and getting older and they're coaching their kids, so on and so forth. But I think just the mentoring is important, but you're building life skills, whether you're at pro, college, or high school, it's all a life skills value.
Wow, great stuff. You're talking about your dad. It makes me think of, and I've shared this before on the podcast. When I was in junior high, my dad was a contractor, wasn't involved in sports at all. He came to my sports, but he made me and my brothers work for him Saturdays, summers, and we just hated it. I just hated it. And I remember my dad told me once, I was in junior high, he says, Jake, the secret to happiness is finding something you love to do and then convincing somebody else to pay you to do that. And he had that in his job. He loved his job. And I found that in sports and teaching and coaching and being an AD. But I shared that with my kids and with anybody that would listen is we got a great job. We get to go to games. We get to have fun. Yeah, there's some challenges, but overall, it's a pretty darn good sport or a good gig. Let's go and take another quick break. One more time, our guest today is Dr. Anthony D'Onofrio. He's the Director of Graduate Sport Leadership at Endicott College. It's up in Massachusetts. We're going to hear all about that program when we come back. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame, along with their content creation service, Beacon Creative. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade with their video boards, but Beacon Creative is taking it to a whole new level. Their talented team of writers and creators are going to take your stories, your history for your kids, your coaches, your program, and create compelling narratives that you can then post on social media. They would look great on a Wall of Fame video board. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Click on Content Services, but also check out their video boards. You're really going to be glad you did. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank our good friends at Home Campus. Now, Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, rosters, results, communication, facilities. Um, they do all these things better and they do it faster than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? That one alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com to get started. That's homecampus.com. And we want to thank our friends at Gipper. Now, your athletic department, your coaches, your kids, you're doing great stuff. And Gipper is going to help you share it on social media. It's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic programs. It's the #1 app for athletic marketing. And it's #1 in part because of the thousands of professionally designed templates that you can then customize in your colors, your logos, your brand. Gipper lets you create, share, and schedule all your social media content in one simple platform, and that platform is Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and don't forget to mention you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back once again to the Educational AD Podcast. Anthony, you shared just kind of a glimpse of your journey. We're going to have to get you back on and take a deeper dive, but now you're the director of graduate student leadership at Endicott College. Share with our listeners, how did you end up at Endicott? What drew you to that program? And in your eyes, what makes Endicott so special?
Absolutely. Well, just to take a step back, prior to that, I was in golf sales with every brand apparel. Mr. Clinton Henderson, another mentor of mine. And then I had saw the position open up at Endicott College. I'm like, this is right in my wheelhouse in terms of culminating all my experiences working in pro college and high school to mentor folks. At that time, I was just circling the drain in terms of coaching. So this is a perfect fit. So Endicott College is my 11th year here. Our program's 100% online. It's asynchronous, meaning that you don't have to be online when the professor's online. The big thing, again, that makes us unique is the customer service. But beyond that, that plus ultra, that above and beyond is we have all real life practitioners teaching for us. So it's certainly connects the dots with folks that want to learn hands-on. So, for example, we have Mr. Barry Hanrahan, the GM for the Philadelphia Flyers, teaches a contract negotiation course. College, Sue Byrne, former AD at Harvard, Dr. Amy Stell, former assistant athletic director at University of Texas, El Paso. The high school ranks, we have Jeff Ellison, Permian Friday Night Lights, Todd Vesley, I had mentioned before, Hall of Famer. Beyond that, our adjuncts are personable. They'll talk one-on-one, and they're trying to help mentor these folks get into the business or elevate. Beyond that, we have an advisory board from John Greenberg, president of the Milwaukee Admirals. My old boss, Jeff Eisman, owns 4 minor league teams. So there's a flavor for everyone. And the nice thing is the price point, it's right around 23 and change, as opposed to some of the other schools that are in the 30s and 40s. We're affordable. The nice thing is we provide flexibility for folks that are working, they have a family. And these students, there's 10 core 3 electives. They're in and out within about a year. So it's extremely doable.
Wow. Okay. Now, for your students, since you've been there, has it been consistent as far as they come in thinking, "Hey, I want to work, at the college level, the pro level." What kind of, I guess, goals or direction do or have your students had over the years?
Well, the nice thing is from entry point, and we tell them, once you finish, you have a connection for life. So we don't just, once they graduate, they're gone. For the last 11 years, I'm still talking to the alumni. We have an alumni group. But what I do is, we get a student when they come in. First thing I ask them is currently what you're doing in the sports industry. How can we help you? That's the customer service. And then what is your goal? If you are a current AD and you want to, maybe, go to a different level, we can help them if they're at high school, they want to go to college. So I connect the dots and I always mentor them up with our advisory board. We have monthly advisory board meetings from September till May, but we're posing the questions of what can we do for customer service? What's the latest and greatest in sports analytics? So immediately, like today, for example, I had a gentleman down in Florida. I connected him with the dots with, he wants to be a high school athletic director, and Todd Vesley is tremendous, a faculty, and he'll talk to him one-on-one and saying, hey, do you want to work at a big school, little school? So I always say the devil's in the detail. Give us, call us 7 days a week. What do you need? You see a job opening up at Merrimack College, wherever it is, with the Philadelphia Flyers. I'll make those connections. But a biggest thing is we're brutally honest with them. If someone says, "Hey, I want to be an agent," I have a good friend of mine, Paul Krapelka, the assistant general manager for the Florida Panthers. He used to be an agent, and he talks to them about the ins and outs of that. In terms of being a GM, we always tell them, hey, you might have to go back and get your law degree to learn the contract. So we're very honest, but the biggest thing is we provide them the contacts that are in the trenches.
Yeah, and that's just so truly important. And I remember, I'll say 100 years ago, I wanted to coach, and I was a head football coach in high school, and I was 26 years old, way before I should have been a head coach. But I had some success at smaller schools, went up to a bigger school. Again, I was just climbing that ladder. And then I got hired at a junior college and had some success there, wanted to be a coach at a 4-year. And I remember I'd been at the JUCO, I think, for 5 years. And that year I sent out, I was 29 years old. No, I was 30 years old. I sent out over 100 resumes to colleges. Didn't hear a thing. Just crickets. Assistant coach, head coach, that sort of thing. The next year, I did the same thing, but it was probably 150 colleges. And I ended up, I thought that's how you did it. I thought that you proved yourself at the high school before you became a college. Being a GA or anything, that never occurred to me in a million years when I was in college. But, a school gave me a call, had an interview. I think I might have been their fifth or sixth choice. But it was just a great fit. It was all these events coming together perfectly. It was more the events than me. But my point is, nowadays, the connections that you and your staff and others can provide, it's just so vital in that career advancement.
Absolutely. And I say it all the time. I'm like a broken record. Leverage those contacts. But the biggest thing is we're honest with them. Like, look, we want to build a scalable model, and we dive as so much for deep of, you know, what is, salary. You don't want to get stuck, but eventually, you want to have a family, you want to have a salary that you can live off of with your family. So we give them a kind of different ins and outs. I had a gentleman, one of our all-star students, Mr. Patrick Douglas. He's like, Mr. D, should I get another master's? I'm like, Patrick, get a doctorate. And we coach them on that too, of like give them the options of, hey, you might want to go on and teach and coach. So we give them different options. But I think the biggest thing is too, with that fact finding information, when we find out as a student is, what is your goal? Do you want to live in the Boston area? My daughters came from Lubbock, Texas to here, like, whoa, they see the sticker shock of, all right, it's a little bit pricey here. So you have to, match it up. And I'm telling my daughter, Isabella, Mia, build a scalable model where you can make that income in find that, salary that's in the good range. But on top of that, you're enjoying what you're doing. So giving them multiple options. And I always tell them, it's life is not linear. You're going to go up, down, zigzag, and don't, because I think to your point, what you're saying is, I did the same thing. I was throwing resumes out and kids are taking it personal. I'm like, do not take it personal and write down notes. What is the lesson that you learned that maybe you didn't get a call back or whatever it may be is, it's a lesson that you're going to learn here that you're not going to go out and throw a 72 game, no pitch hitters. You know what I mean? You're going to strike out more. Was it Reggie Jackson struck out more than he had hits, but you have to learn from that. And what are those lessons from making those, wrong turns or whatever. Again, it's not linear. And once they see that, they're like, that's right. You're going to zig, you're going to zag, and things are going to come up across the United States where, hey, maybe take a chance and move down to Mobile, Alabama or Arizona, step outside your comfort zone as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when I graduated from college 100 years ago, and I went to college in Oregon and had a bunch of buddies that were, wanted to be teacher coaches, but they didn't want to move out of the local area. They weren't willing to relocate. And I'm going, hey, I want a job. I'll go the other side of the state. I'll go out of state. And, again, I end up crossing the country during my career. Anthony, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but I want to do it now too. If one of our listeners wants to reach out, pick your brain a little bit, maybe find out more about the Endicott program, or just add you to their network, what's the best way that our listeners can connect with Dr. Anthony D'Onofrio?
Text me, call me 7 days a week, 857-888-1222. Very simple number, 857-888-1222. Again, always happy to talk and mentor someone. I tell folks, like, you don't have to jump in our program. I can, different avenues, to help folks out. It feels great to mentor someone.
Okay. Well, again, I love when people confident enough to give out that cell phone. Let's go and take another quick break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we are going to come back with more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to Booster Hub, the #1 booster club software application. You know, if you work with your boosters, you know that volunteer signups and volunteer changes can sometimes drive you crazy. Well, with Booster Hub, nothing falls through the cracks. Those changes get recorded, everything's secure, everybody stays connected with Booster Hub. The same thing is true with sponsorship payments or concession sales. Nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays connected with Booster Hub. Give your boosters the platform they need and give them the platform they deserve. And that platform is Booster Hub. Go to boosterhub.com to get signed up. We want to say thanks to our friends at Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but guess what? My assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while they completed their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. And we want to say thanks to Hometown. Hometown continues to be a leader in education-based athletics with their solutions that include things like, well, digital ticketing, of course. They're still the #1 digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. But how about fee-free fundraising through School Funder, athletic website construction? The Hometown list goes on and on. Whether you're an athletic director, a head coach, even a principal, Hometown is going to show you how to save time. They're going to show you how to raise more money, and they're going to show you how to bring your entire community together. You'll find it all at hometown.com. And as always, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Anthony, you and I were talking a little bit during the break. I will hear, and I'm sure you do too, sometimes from undergrad students that, their plans to get their bachelor's and then they think they're going to become an AD right out of the chute, or they're going to land that big job. And of course, we want them to do that, but we also know that you're probably going to have a couple stops along the way. Not so much for those stops, but looking ahead after you maybe built a little bit of a name or a career for yourself, is there a section of sport management or athletic administration? Is there, a market out there is what I'm trying to say, that in your opinion is getting ready or maybe currently is blowing up that people are not considering strongly enough?
Well, I think to your point, it goes back to, it's not linear. You're not just going to get out and they're going to hand you a job. It's a similar to, in the sports analogy, you think you're going to be the starting goalie and then the coach brings in 4 other starting goalies. So what is your plan B, C, and D? But what I'm seeing, again, we created a course 11 years ago, a sports entrepreneurship class. Analytics, I know, is on the rise. And then I tell folks, you can't go wrong with a law degree with the sport management, knowing the CBA, the contracts inside and out. But I'll start off with the entrepreneurship class. Again, I'm here at Endicott full time, but I've always had side hustles. I owned a relay race in New Orleans. I had a t-shirt company, in the works of buying other companies up. So have that backup plan. But the biggest thing is you become your own boss. So the sports entrepreneurship class, which we have a 6-week course right now, we go over taxes, insurance, the legal side of that. I bring in real life guest speakers. I just brought in a gentleman that owns a big golf company, and he talked about all the ins and outs, stuff that everyone assumes you own a business that you're rolling in the money. It's just like anything else. The plus side, the pro is your own boss. But what are the pitfalls? And we try to explain to that in the classes, and that's why for me this program is unique, where I'm constantly bringing in real life guest speakers that they can reach out to and say, hey, Clint, I have a question on sole proprietor, LLC, and S Corp. Tell me a little bit more about it. And he talked about margins. And that's one of the key things is you own your business. You want to have large margins in terms of, to pay the bills and keep the lights on. So I think for me, you're never going to go wrong owning your own business as a kind of a backup, but it's also, leverage on those contacts and networks. Again, you don't know where this ride's going to take you, and just enjoy it, have fun. And like I said, we're in the business of entertainment and sales, and it's fun. It's not like I'm pouring concrete foundations every day. This is a tremendous job. I come in smiling every day. It's great. The analytics side I know is building. The AI side is building as well. But I always tell folks, if you're looking at the agent side, you want to go to the front office. Barry Hanrahan's a great example. Was not a hockey guy, was a basketball guy in the area, and knows the contracts inside and out. Does a tremendous job. Our students love his course. So I think you're not going to go wrong. And someone like Barry's going to steer you in the right direction of, what can kind of be my career path. But I think the entrepreneurship is at the top of the list.
And can you, and you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but can you give an example of maybe a recent graduate from the Endicott program that has done that, has done a good job of developing as you and I were saying during the break, a side hustle?
Yeah. Well, one side hustle, a gentleman by the name of Tony Aubrey, graduate of the program. He has a company called Operation Vet Now, and is similar to athletes. He's helping a former military kind of transition, does a tremendous job, does a lot of events. He ties in a lot of the sports to that. So Tony Aubrey, Operation Vet Now, fantastic program. On a side, kind of a student that kind of took it upon and went into the sales side. Joey Millar went into the sales side of it. And we tell folks all your transferable skills when you're playing sports, it transfers into real life, the leadership, the sales side, all that stuff there. But yeah, Tony is probably one of the tops I can think of right out of the gate.
Wow. This is just, I've got so many questions I want to ask, but we want to be sensitive to our listeners and to you. Let's go ahead and make that jump into our final segment, the Athletic Director's Toolbox. Now, you have a tremendous, tremendous background in so many different areas, but in just a minute, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director, a brand new leader on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 tools in the toolbox. You've already shared a couple, so I'm curious to see what you're going to put in. So let's go and take that break. When we come back, Dr. Anthony D'Onofrio is going to tell us what he's going to put in his new athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. In my school, we use surveys for just about everything, for our student athletes, for our coaches, even for our parents. And here's the cool thing. The information that came back on these surveys, almost always over the top positive, and it'll probably be the same for you. The surveys also allowed us to hear from our squeaky wheel parents, but we were able to find out what their concerns were, usually address them before they turned into something big. But getting back to that positive data, incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, sometimes with a principal, sometimes even with your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that truly lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And as with all of our sponsors, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Dr. Anthony D'Onofrio. He is the Director of Graduate Student Leadership at Endicott College. Also has a tremendous background as a coach, as an athletic director, as a leader. But right now, I'm going to task him with sending out a brand new leader on their first job, but I'm only going to let him put 3 tools in the toolbox. So, Doctor, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
Well, from my experience, and then we have a high school athletic director's course and a conference, I would say definitely in this area, number one would be scheduling. The biggest eye opener for me, being an athletic director out of the gate, was did not realize you get heavy snowfall in the winter, how that messes up your spring schedule. So was not expecting that because a lot of stuff was indoors. The fall time we were pretty good, so I didn't have many hiccups. But that scheduling, obviously the arbiter helped in terms of officiating, but that was the big snowstorm year 2014 in the Northeast, and I was pulling my hair out of my head. Second one, budget management. Definitely, I tell students all the time, get yourself familiar with Excel, expenses, hidden cost. Always expect the unexpected, that something's going to break. Or we have our facilities class. I actually have a project where they have to do facilities design, but walk into a current athletic facility and do a safety checklist. And then in terms of the budgeting of that, what's going to cost. And the last thing is communication tools, especially now you have so much. You have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. So knowing kind of which, ones to use. So I think those are the 3 things, but the communication tools, especially now with technology expanding, and just, I would have a fall, winter, and spring meet the coaches night, but keeping those lines of communication, that's paramount. But knowing, which ones, and especially if you have a low budget, a smaller budget, that you might have to be, sweeping the floors, doing the Instagram. So you might have to wear multiple hats, but there's so many things out there that can kind of help you out on that. But just, I would say those are the 3 main points from my area in terms of the toolbox.
Tremendous tools, and again, the organization, the scheduling component, absolutely, and the communication. I love that you mentioned budget and knowing your financials. It's not sexy, but it can be a true game changer. It can be a career maker or breaker. If you're not paying attention to everything that's in or maybe not in your budget. So great tools. Let's go in one more time. If one of our listeners wants to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more, or find out more about the Endicott program, what's the best way they can connect with you?
Contact my cell, 857-888-1222. 857-888-1222.
And as Dr. D'Onofrio mentioned, he's on LinkedIn. That's actually how he and I connected off of a post. So reach out to him and get connected. Anthony, thanks again for taking time out of your schedule to share with our listeners. All the best moving forward. And we're definitely going to have to get you back on maybe in the spring for an update, see how things are going.
Awesome. This has been tremendous. And hopefully some of my advice here is helpful. But again, please contact and reach out at any time.
Oh, again, thanks you for coming on. We also want to say thanks to our listeners and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories and some best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.